Boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Paddy Donovan has been made Australia offer for Liam Paro in what is an IBF final eliminator on the heels of his loss to Crocker. Eddie Hearn has revealed that Matchroom has received an offer from No Limit, who now promotes Liam Paro for a Paddy Donovan versus Liam Paro final eliminator to take place in Australia. It's a bigger split to Liam Paro because of his number 2 position, so we may have to take a little trip to Australia for that one.
Bitch.
So Paddy Donovan is currently 0-2 with newly crowned IBF champion Lewis Crocker. In the first fight, he was disqualified for downing Lewis after the bell. In the second fight, even though he was widely favored to win the rematch on the premise that he was the better boxer, Lewis is the one who came back better, a lot better, with a better strategy. So much better that he floored Paddy Donovan in the third round, then again in the fifth. So currently Paddy is 0-2 with the reigning IBF champion, but this would afford him yet another crack at the apple. If he fights Liam and beats Liam, he becomes Lewis's mandatory challenger. Boxing News recently caught up with Paddy Donovan to address the potentiality of a fight with Liam.
Yeah, he's a great fighter. He's a fantastic fighter. He's former world champion, and I can't take that away from him. I'm looking forward to the challenge. Good fighter, good southpaw like me, good fighter, good puncher. It has the ring of a fantastic fight. It's just about getting the venue across the line now, whether it be in Ireland, London, Australia, Saudi Arabia. So our team's in negotiating. Hopefully we can get across the line and get the fight done, and let's make a big fight happen.
So between what Paddy has already said and what Eddie Hearn has already said, they are not closed off to the idea of fighting Liam Paro. It's just a question of when and where. And according to Eddie, they might have to go to the land down under for that one. They may have to go down to Australia if they choose to fight in this eliminator. They could always waffle. Remember, if you're Paddy Donovan, this is for a third fight with Lewis Crocker. You've already fought him 2 times. Does he really want a third crack at the apple? A few passing thoughts. So, on the predication of the first fight, many people, including me, thought that Paddy Donovan would win the second. Paddy was the favorite going in.
He lost.
Lewis Crocker definitely came back better in the second fight than he did in the first, with a better game plan. Though outside of the 2 knockdowns in rounds 3 and 5, there was a legitimate argument that maybe Paddy could have nicked it, that maybe Paddy Donovan did enough, but was a man hard done on the judges' scorecards. That would be the precedent for a third fight. That even though he's 0-2,
Might have got screwed in the last one.
in spite of a somewhat dubious decision, I remember Lewis Crocker after the fight, when the judges' scorecards were announced, and how happy he was to become IBF champion. And I found that refreshing, to see that it still means something to a fighter.
To win a belt, to become a world champion, to achieve that milestone.
I think that's something that a lot of American fighters take for granted, the ones that are too cool for school.
Fuck those pigs.
Whereas seeing Lewis Crocker and how happy he was made me happy for him.
Now he is a hunted man. He has something that the contenders want.
He can breathe a sigh of relief, at least momentarily, that he does not yet have a mandatory challenger in the queue. That's what this fight between Liam and Paddy is intended to resolve. Whoever wins, if it happens, becomes Lewis's problem.
Wins a fight.
You haven't seen Paddy Donovan before. He's on the more fence and fiddle side of the boxing spectrum. More of a finesse fighter than a ferocity guy, whereas Liam,
Good dimensions for the weight, too. Paddy Donovan. He's got some height, he's got some length, he's agile, fights on his toes.
where Liam Paro is really best described as a boxer-puncher. He can box when he needs to, punch when he needs to. Most evident in his win over Subriel Matias, which I think is more impressive than anything we've seen from either Paddy Donovan or Lewis Crocker.
Wins a fight.
I really think that depends on where the fight happens. If the fight happens in the United Kingdom, you might have to give Paddy Donovan the edge, but if it happens in Australia,
Liam might get the edge.
Liam Paro, who has since parted ways with Matchroom, and he is now promoted by No Limit Promotions, the best promotional outfit in all of Australia. And it's my understanding that since linking with them and having 1 or 2 fights in his own neck of the woods, he's actually drawing well down there. He's got some marquee value.
Looks like Edward Furlong on TRT.
This is not a cut and dry matter. Stylistically, it's a hard fight to envision. Liam Paro lost his IBF title to a pure boxer in Richardson Hitchens. I happen to think Paddy Donovan can fight a similar fight.
I wouldn't look past him.
The fight can either happen in the United Kingdom or in Australia or in Saudi. As Paddy Donovan mentioned, Saudi would be a neutral location for both boys. Neither guy would have home field advantage.
Though right now the only offer on the table to do the fight is to do it in Australia on no limits time. And because Liam Paro is entitled to a bigger percentage of the split because he's ranked ahead of Paddy Donovan.
Matchroom may not want to pay for it. Why put up all that money just for most of it to go to somebody else's fighter?
For it to go to Liam.
And for a fight that Paddy Donovan may or may not win. So it's an intriguing situation for more reasons than one. We'll see if they can get this one over the line. Men's light heavyweight news. Anthony Yarde employs strength and conditioning coach in bid to topple David Benavidez, London. Anthony Yarde has warned David Benavidez he is punching harder than ever after employing a strength and conditioning coach for the first time in his career.
Yeah, that's what I've thought, because I've never known Anthony Yarde to employ a strength and conditioning coach. This is the very first time I've seen that.
Yarde challenges the Mexican monster for his WBC light heavyweight title in the main event of Ring 4 at the A&B Arena in Riyadh, November 22nd, late next month. Undefeated Benavidez is a huge favorite to retain his title against his challenger from East London, who has tried and failed in world title attempts against both Sergei Kovalev and Artur Beterbiev. But in a bid to cause an upset this time around, the 34-year-old Yarde has finally decided to properly integrate strength and conditioning training into his camp, and he is already feeling the benefits. I've never done it before in my career, Yarde tells The Ring. We did around 4 weeks before the Lyndon Arthur fight in April, but this is the first time I've ever had a proper camp.
Well, if it makes that much of a difference, why didn't he do it sooner?
Because it costs extra. If you look at my career, I started boxing late, so it's always been trial and error or playing catch-up, but now we thought the time was right to adopt it. Yarde and head trainer Tunde Ajayi decided to turn to renowned sports performance expert Ruben Tabarez, who has worked alongside the likes of former world champions David Haye and George Groves, among many others. The pair trained together during the mornings in South London before Yarde heads east for his boxing sessions with Ajayi. He said, "I'm already feeling the benefits in my boxing training. I feel like I'm punching harder than ever, and I feel physically stronger for sure. My sparring has been excellent, and even on the days where I feel physically fatigued, I'm dealing with it better than I used to. Now my body feels more conditioned. It has been physically demanding, and it's only going to get harder now. I'm always up for challenges. Me and Ruben have had our back and forths too. If we disagree with each other, we talk it out. I just love growth, and that's what I feel I'm doing." The pair tested the waters together ahead of Yarde's last fight when he beat Lyndon Arthur on points as part of The Ring's Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves event headlined by Chris Eubank Jr.'s win over Conor Benn.
So they started working together in the Lyndon Arthur trilogy. Some would say that Anthony didn't look great in that fight, that his conditioning was not up to scratch, that he looked kind of flat. You have to hope that that fight was not an advertisement for this one.
Now, where this one is different is that they're having a full camp together. It's not just 4 weeks. They are midway through an exhausting 12-week program ahead of the Benavidez fight, and Yarde believes, despite his age and experience levels as a professional athlete, he's been enjoying some newbie gains. Oh, definitely, he says. I know it's not usual for someone to start this late, but then again, my career isn't usual. Why not try and do things that make me great? That's what this is all about. There was only so much we could get done in those few weeks before the Arthur fight, but now we are fully into it, and this is the first real program. We have had a chance to understand each other more, and I'm enjoying it. But the only time we really get to see the results is on fight night. For me, I've always thought strength and conditioning is not boxing, but now when I do my research, I see that even people like Sugar Ray Robinson were doing strength and conditioning. Maybe he wasn't doing it how we see it now, but it was a form of strength and conditioning. Mike Tyson did strength and conditioning with Customato too. he was doing weights or doing his neck stuff. It's all part of it. It worked for them, so now it's time to make it work for me.
Neck stuff? What the fuck does he mean, neck stuff?
He's talking about surly rolls for the neck. You know, the neck is a shock absorber of sorts, and a thicker neck makes for less jostling of the brain whenever a punch does get in. In case you're not aware what a knockout actually is, you take a shot, your head goes one way, and due to the G-force, your brain goes the other. That jostling is what causes a knockout, but a thicker neck,
Acting as a shock absorber, prevents knockouts.
surly neck rolls aside, it would seem that Anthony Yarde is venturing into uncharted territory ahead of what is his third world title bid.
I mean, this addresses his conditioning issue, which we've seen in the past. I remember in the Sergey Kovalev fight, he was doing all right up until he gassed out and faded down the stretch. Back then, I chalked it up to inexperience, that he was in over his head with a better fighter than any fighter that he'd fought before. But that gas tank issue, it still remained, even after the Kovalev fight.
Some would say that that gas tank issue has been with him the whole time. So if he is now correcting that, that's yet another intriguing layer to this upcoming David Benavidez fight. Stylistically already makes for fireworks because neither one of these guys is a defensive specialist, a defensive wizard. Their strength is their offense, David and Anthony.
As I've said in previous videos, I would give the edge in speed to David Benavidez and the edge in power to Anthony. Durability,
It's a bit of a toss-up because David Benavidez has never been knocked out before where Anthony has, but the guys that knocked Anthony out were bigger punchers than David Benavidez. So who's really more durable? There's only one way to find out. Defense is about the same. Neither guy is all that defensively sound. Mobility, agility, I would say they're about even in both departments, both David and Anthony.
we'll see how it shakes out late next month and talk more about the fight as the fight date approaches.
Men's heavyweight news ahead of this weekend's mega match. Joseph Parker expects experience will be too much for undefeated Fabio Wardley. The list of opponents on Joseph Parker's 39-fight professional record is one of the most impressive among active heavyweights. The durable New Zealander has lost just once since former unified champion Anthony Joshua and Dillian Whyte beat him in back-to-back bouts in 2018. Joe Joyce, who was undefeated when they fought in September of 2022, is the only opponent to beat Parker in the last 7 years. The rejuvenated Parker has beaten some of their division's most dangerous punchers in the past 3 fights, Deontay Wilder, Zhilei Chang, and Martin Bakole, to earn his way back into title contention. Chang knocked out Joyce twice before Parker beat the huge Chinese southpaw in March of last year. Parker, 33, also owns victories over former unified champion Andy Ruiz, Derek Chisora, who he outpointed twice just after Chisora gave Usyk one of his toughest fights. Carlos Takam, when the Cameroonian veteran was in his physical prime. The WBO interim champion's resume is one of the primary reasons Parker is certain he'll defeat Fabio Wardley this weekend. Parker explained to Ring Magazine's Max Kellerman during the newest episode of Inside the Ring why experience separates them as they move toward a significant fight Usyk stated recently will determine his next opponent.
Take a head count of all the guys that Parker's been in there with. Carlos Takam, Andy Ruiz, Anthony Joshua, Dillian Whyte, Derek Chisora,
Joe Joyce, a then unbeaten Junior Fa, Deontay Wilder, Zhilei Zhang, more recently Martin Bakole, this weekend Fabio Wardley. By now, it is established that Joseph don't duck no smoke.
and he's only 33 years old. Even though he's been around for years and years, he is the youngest of the previous crop of heavyweights with many, many good years ahead of him.
I know that Fabio Wardley is a lot more inexperienced than I am, Parker said, but I do believe that the team he has behind him will make good adjustments, and the way he's approached this fight, and obviously the game plan, but I do feel with this experience that I have, being a world champion and fighting in front of many, big crowds, but also fighting top contenders, I do feel that the experience that I have will be too much for him. That's what I feel. Wardley was way behind on all 3 judges' scorecards when he blasted Australia's Justice Hooney with a picture-perfect right hand that emphatically ended their fight in the 10th round June 7th at Portman Road, a soccer stadium in Wardley's hometown of Ipswich, England. Parker is undoubtedly the most proven opponent of Wardley's career, yet the former WBO champion isn't underestimating a green but dangerous contender whose last 3 wins were recorded against previously unbeaten foes in Hooney and British rivals Fraser Clark and David Adilier. You know, you can only take him for the fights that he's had, Parker said, and every fight that he's had, he's come out on top, you know? And even though the last time out, he looked touchy on his last fight with Justice Hooney, where he was down on the cards and he pulled out a big right hand, so he does carry his power with him throughout the whole fight, from round 1 to round 12. In that case, it was round 10. And I guess with each fight that he's had, he's improved and getting better and better. So I've been in the ring with many top fighters, and I've been in the ring with a lot of power punchers, and I do feel that my level is above Fabio Wardley. But we'll see. Time will tell. Parker, number 2 among the ring's top 10 contenders, is a 4-1 favorite versus the 6th-ranked Wardley, according to DraftKings. Their 12-rounder will headline a DAZN pay-per-view show in the UK and the United States. Oddly enough, they're charging the Americans more than they're charging the Brits for this fight, even though this fight is more geared towards a British audience than an American one.
That doesn't make any fucking sense.
It really doesn't, and we've been all through that. I am of a similar mindset to Joseph Parker. I feel that Parker's proven durability and experience will ultimately make the difference. Now, whether or not Parker wins by way of knockout or it goes to the cards.
The boys over at Ring Magazine, all 4 of them, have Parker winning the fight.
Max and Shady have Joseph Parker winning the fight by way of knockout, whereas Mike Coppinger has Joseph winning a decision. Heavyweight danger man Chris Arreola has Joseph Parker. Put simply, that's basically saying whether it's a decision or a knockout, Chris has got Joe winning.
It's hard not to, after Fabio Wardley's last fight with Justice Hooney, who had just a little more than a handful of fights going in, and he gave Fabio Wardley all he can handle. Now, there are subtle differences between Justice Hooney and Joseph Parker. I think Justice Hooney is a little lighter on his feet than Joseph is.
He moves around a lot more. I also think he's got a bit more hand speed than Joseph Parker and fluid combinations. Saying that Justice Hooney is not a carbon copy of Joseph Parker, there are subtle differences, but one difference between Joe and Hooney is that Joe's a lot more durable, and that's proven, and he punches a lot harder.
In tandem with experience, he's got buckets, and I mean buckets more experience than Justice Hooney did. So if you had to go through all that with Justice Hooney, you may be in over your head tomorrow with Joseph.
Joseph, who I've got winning tomorrow by way of knockout and advancing to that Oleksandr Usyk fight in what is estimated to be April of next year. Looking forward to that. The most that you could give Fabio, based on what we've seen, is a puncher's chance.
And that's against fighters that have a lot less experience than Joseph brings to the table.
So in spite of Fabio having that equalizer that could end a fight at any moment, I don't like his chances enough that he will. That's little more than just a puncher's chance. I'm going with Joseph because he can punch a bit too.
And I think he's going to get it done tomorrow.